Hey, what's going on everyone? In this video, I'm comparing the Samsung Galaxy S4 up against the Sony Xperia ZL. What I'm doing is giving you some very quick comparison details. I'm not going to get into the exact details of like the exact screen type. If you want to see stuff like that, or a gaming demo, or some sample pictures and videos taken with each device, what I suggest you do is check out their individual videos in the description below. You'll find a lot more detailed videos there. I can't put it all in this video because it'll make this video like over an hour long. So talking about the body size, I'm just going to put them one on top of the other. I would say the Xperia ZL is slightly shorter by maybe, that's not even tough to say, 2 or 3 millimeters. In terms of width, as you can see, the Galaxy S4 is slightly smaller, just by, again, a couple of millimeters or so. And in terms of thickness, I would say the Galaxy S4 is slightly slimmer. So in terms of size, I would say it's generally a tie. In terms of weight, I'm not going to get into the exact details again, but just picking them up, I can clearly tell that the Xperia ZL is heavier. Not by a lot, but it is a bit heavier. So in terms of weight, the Galaxy S4 is the winner. Okay, let's get into one of the most important parts of each device. Both of them have a 5-inch 1080p screen. Now, let me just say one thing. Even if you're watching this video on YouTube at 1080p, you will not see the full potential of each screen, and that's because YouTube downgrades and compresses my videos. It lowers the video quality. So it's one of those things you have to see in person to really appreciate the screen clarity. The Xperia ZL is at the top, obviously, and down here at the bottom, the white phone is a Samsung Galaxy S4. So, these pictures they have a higher resolution than each screen can handle, so I'm actually pushing the screen to its finest quality possible. And let me just say that I put the brightness setting of each phone up to the same amount, 3/4 of full brightness. So they're at the same brightness level, but all I'm noticing is that the Xperia ZL is significantly brighter, whereas the Galaxy S4, I'm not saying it's bad, but it is a tad bit darker. Not only that, I'm noticing that the Xperia ZL has the better screen. That might surprise or disappoint some people. Don't be, because like I said, the Galaxy S4 has a fantastic screen. It's just that I'm noticing that the colors are far more vibrant on the Xperia ZL. Man, is it a treat if you have this phone. The Xperia ZL, I'm just finding the colors to be a lot more brighter, more vibrant, and the picture is significantly sharper compared to the Galaxy S4. I'm not sure why that is. It could be, well, a lot of it has to do with probably the Bravia Engine picture software that they designed mainly for their TVs. They've implemented it in the Xperia ZL. I think that's helping a lot. Okay, so in terms of RAM, it's a tie. Both of them have 2 gigs of RAM. Now I'm going to get into a little bit more detail when it comes to the processor. The Galaxy S4 has a Snapdragon 600 1.9 GHz quad-core processor, whereas the Xperia ZL has a quad-core S4 Pro processor, 1.5 GHz quad-core. So what that basically means is that, technically speaking, the Galaxy S4 has a more powerful processor. Now, when it comes to gaming, just practical app usage, I'm noticing that both of them are very equal. Gaming, especially, is when you push the phone to its maximum potential. I noticed that they're exactly the same performance-wise. Now, in the long run, though, when games do get more powerful, in years to come, the Galaxy S4 will last longer. But for now, I would say over the next 2 to 3 years, it's going to be pretty much a tie. They're both just as powerful. But if I had to really say in the long run which one's going to be better, in terms of processor, it's going to be the Galaxy S4. Now in terms of GPU, however, they're both running the exact same thing, so it's a tie in terms of GPU. Now in terms of connectivity, both of them have an NFC chip, obviously. They also have GPS, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, DLNA. Both do have mirror casting, so you can mirror whatever on your device to a Miracast supported TV. I'm not going to get into the exact numbers again, but I'm just going to say that the Galaxy S4 camera is way better than the Xperia ZL. Now the Xperia ZL camera is okay, but to be honest, I was expecting a lot more from this device. The picture quality is alright, but it's very jaggedy, and I find that I get a lot of like a fisheye warping effect whenever I turn the camera left and right, whereas the Galaxy S4 is a lot more fluid and slightly clearer. So in terms of the rear camera, the Galaxy S4 is the clear winner. Now in terms of the front-facing camera, I would say they're relatively the same quality. But here's a key difference though. The Galaxy S4 camera is here at the top. The Xperia ZL camera is here at the bottom. And this is really frustrating for me because sometimes I hold my device like this. My thumb is not covering the front-facing camera. So for that, for that reason, the Galaxy S4 has a better front-facing camera simply due to its position. In terms of battery, the Galaxy S4 has a slightly larger battery than the Xperia ZL. Now if you want the exact size, again, check out their individual video reviews. But what I'm going to say is this. Even though the Galaxy S4 battery is larger, if I turn on most of the Samsung exclusive features like, say, air control, see? It's using the front-facing camera and I'm just waving my palm. If I use all the Galaxy S4 exclusive features designed by Samsung, they do take up the battery a lot faster than the Xperia ZL. So with the Samsung exclusive features on, I would say even half of them, the Galaxy S4 loses in terms of battery. But if I turn off all Samsung exclusive features, then the Galaxy S4 battery wins. The Xperia ZL only comes in 16 gigabytes internal and it supports external of 64 gigabytes micro SD card, whereas the Galaxy S4 comes in 16, 32 and 64 gigs. And it supports external up to 64 gigs as well. So obviously the 32 and 64 gigabyte version win compared to the Xperia ZL. However, the 16 gigabyte loses, and here's why. Out of the box, for some bizarre reason, Samsung only gives you, I think, 10 gigs of storage to use at a 16 for some strange reason. I think a lot of their Samsung apps take up too much space, so the 16 gigabyte version of the Galaxy S4 loses compared to the Xperia ZL. Let's talk about general comfort and feel. Now, a lot of people complain that the Galaxy S4 is pure plastic. I don't see what the big deal is considering that the screen is the most fragile part of any smartphone anyway. So if something's going to break, it's going to be the front screen, right? So the problem here is not that it's made out of plastic, it's just that it's just boring. It does feel like pure plastic, like some sort of flimsy toy. Even though the Xperia ZL is also made of entirely of plastic, the backing here, despite it being plastic, it's got this nice texture you guys can see, very smooth, rigid. It feels a lot more comfortable in the hand to hold. So in terms of comfort and feel, the Xperia ZL wins by far. Now in terms of general design, like the way it looks, button positioning and stuff, I have to say the Xperia ZL by far. This is one of the sharpest, sleekest looking phones ever made. Sony's always done a good job about that with their products. Now in terms of the notification LED light, I don't want to show any notifications, but I'm going to say that the LED notification light down here is huge on the Xperia ZL, whereas the Galaxy S4 has a pretty lame of an excuse for an LED notification light. It's very faint, hard to see. So the notification light on the Xperia ZL is the winner. Okay, so what I'm going to do at this point is give you a general speaker test. I've got the exact same YouTube clip from my YouTube channel at the exact same time, both volumes maxed out. I'm going to play each clip on each phone for just a few seconds, and I'm going to lift it up the phone because the speakers are on the back. I don't want the sound muffled by my desk. So let's start the Galaxy S4. Off button, it'll reset the phone, which is a great feature for developers. If they're developing a ROM and the phone freezes, the power button's not working. Okay, now the Xperia ZL. Off button, it'll reset the phone, which is a great feature for developers. If they're developing a ROM and the phone freezes, the power button's not working, they can use that reset button at the back. However, it does not turn the phone on, so it's not a power button, it's just a... Okay, so what I'm noticing that the Xperia ZL is significantly louder, even with the speaker at the back, and both devices have the speaker on the back and they're both on the desk. Whether I lifted them up or left them on the desk, the Xperia ZL is clearly louder. So in terms of which one is a better multimedia device, I'm gonna have to say the Xperia ZL. Even though they both perform equally when it comes to playing video games, watching 1080p movies, looking at pictures, the key difference here is that the Xperia ZL has a better screen. It's a lot clearer than the Galaxy S4. In terms of general software and operating system, this is going to be extremely debatable and this is going to upset a lot of people. So I'm going to keep this as just my personal opinion. Your opinion might differ. I'm going to say that my personal opinion is the Xperia ZL interface is a lot better. It's cleaner, it's easier to use. I know you don't have all those fancy Samsung features, but the interface is such a huge, giant mess. Everything is so cluttered, I can't find half the features half the time. And I have to admit that a lot of the functions built in the Galaxy S4 are pretty useless. As I showed waving my hand to change a picture, it's nice, but let's face it, it's pretty gimmicky for the most part. In terms of making phone calls, these are phones after all, let's not forget. The Galaxy S4 is by far the better one. In fact, the Galaxy S4 is the best phone I've used for making phone calls thus far. It's extremely clear. Now, if you were asking me my personal opinion as to which device I would prefer to buy, I would say the Xperia ZL. Now, the reason is because it has a little bit of a better of a screen. I know the camera's not that great, but I never really liked cell phone cameras in the first place. I got my Sony digital camera, which records at 60 frames per second, which I'm using to record this video right now. I don't need a cell phone camera, but I'm a bit of a camera enthusiast. But the key thing for me though is that the Xperia ZL has a very minimalistic feel. And what I mean by that is that the Xperia experience doesn't overcrowd the Android stock feel. It's kind of like stock Android, whereas the Galaxy S4 is just so cluttered. There's just too many options. What they should have done with this menu here is had the normal Android system settings tab, like this, very simple, and then had a separate tab for exclusive Samsung features. Instead, they decided to clutter everything all over the place, and it's a huge giant mess. In terms of best bang for buck, the Galaxy S4 is ridiculously overpriced this year. Samsung knows they're going to sell a ridiculous amount of Galaxy S4s, so they increased the price by $100 worldwide, depending on where you live, of course. So in that regard, I have to say the Xperia ZL is a much better buy in terms of dollar value. So that's pretty much it. That's my general comparison of the Galaxy S4 up against the Xperia ZL. I do hope you found this video useful. If you did, check out my website in the video description. Hit the like button, it does help. Subscribe, and thanks for watching.